What's going on, everyone, and welcome back into the Brenden Schaeffer Fantasy Football channel. Click subscribe on this channel if you enjoy fantasy football mock content, Dynasty, redraft. You can find it all here on Brenden Schaeffer Fantasy Football. Today, we're going to do another Dynasty rookie draft, a mock draft, 4 rounds, because I think that's pretty standard for what most people are working with in their Dynasty leagues. I'm really excited to be able to do some startup Dynasty content soon, but as you can see here on the screen, the ADPs for the incoming rookies are still not integrated into Sleeper. Like, until they run enough mock drafts or just general drafts on the platform, I don't think the ADPs are going to be proper. And so we're really not able to integrate the rookies into startup drafts just yet. So for now, rookie only is the direction that we're going to go. And I picked to draft from the number 4 position in this particular mock draft. And the reason for that is I tend to think that Jayden Daniels is going to be a riser as we move closer and closer to not only the NFL draft, but after the NFL draft, the real meat of Dynasty startup and rookie mock draft season, or rookie real draft season, rather. Like, I think Jayden Daniels hops Drake May. I would draft Jayden Daniels over Drake May for sure, and I'm kind of curious to see what the sleeper platform is going to give me here. So if they take Jayden Daniels away from me before the 4th pick, then I'll have to sort of reckon with that and start to get into the mindset of, like, what would I do for the number 4 position if Jayden Daniels is not on the board, which I think by the time spring and summer rolls around, he won't be available to you at the 4th spot of these rookie drafts, especially, I mean, we're talking Superflex. A lot of Dynasty leagues these days are Superflex. That's the format that we're looking at with this particular draft. So let's go ahead and hit start and see what they give us in terms of options at that number 4 draft position. We're going to click start here. Hopefully, my last video, the noises, the sound effects on Sleeper were pretty outrageous. So I'm hoping to be able to kind of fix that a little bit. Let me kind of turn down the meter here. If it's too loud, let me know in the comments below, and I'll try to adjust for future videos. Interestingly enough, we got a completely off-board start to our draft. I think Marvin Harrison at number 1 is legitimate. I think you could actually see that in your Dynasty leagues and your rookie drafts, because I think he's the best player in the rookie class. I know that quarterbacks are gold in Superflex formats, but I think Marvin Harrison is the one that cannot miss. Yeah, these quarterbacks are really good as well. I think Marvin Harrison is a can't-miss player. So I would not hesitate, especially if I had good young quarterbacks in depth at the position, and for whatever reason ended up with that 1-1 in my Dynasty leagues, I wouldn't hesitate to take Marvin Harrison. That would actually be my pick as of right now, pre-NFL draft. Caleb Williams goes number 2. That's no surprise. Rome Odunze, I don't think is going to be going ahead in Superflex formats of these other players, these quarterbacks, Drake May and Jayden Daniels, unless he lands in just a ridiculous place. Like, if somehow the Chiefs trade up and get him, maybe you'll see some wacky things. But for me, that's kind of off board. Makes my decision easy, though. I go Jayden Daniels over Drake May in these situations. Another temptation there would be Brock Bowers. He goes at number 9. As you can see, the draft rolling across your screen now. Blake Corum, the first running back, taken at number 12 overall. We're going to keep this video pretty tight, pretty quick, because, again, there's not a lot of versatility with these 4-round rookie mocks until something happens, right? Until the NFL draft gets closer, we see draft boards begin to change and emerge. And so for right now, we're nothing beneficial about doing a 30-minute breakdown of these, but it's good to start doing these rookie mocks to kind of get into the swing of things, especially if you know in your league what your draft pick is going to be, because you can start to try to strategize and get an idea for what you can expect. Drake May goes number 5, though. We'll talk about some of the picks that were made. Malik Neighbors, I think that's pretty chalky to have those guys up high. Bowers being at 9 is kind of a surprise to me. I would be surprised unless he just lands in a spot where people don't think he can be successful right away. I'd be surprised to see Bowers as low as number 9 in this rookie class. Look, I think the success of Sam Laporta, a guy who was a good prospect, but absolutely landed in a great situation in his rookie year and was phenomenal for fantasy. Brock Bowers has more of a pedigree coming out than Sam Laporta did at the time, even though there were some people that were really interested in him. Brock Bowers is a stud, and so I think if he lands in a good spot, you'll see him much higher than 9. Bo Nix is interesting. Again, with these quarterbacks, we see McCarthy and Michael Penix going in round 2 of this draft. It's going to depend on the NFL draft capital, I think, associated with those players as to where they get taken. But only one running back, I think, is notable in the first round. Just not a very strong running back class, but this next group here of running backs, Brooks, Allen, and Benson, will probably be second-round names, depending. Let's go ahead and make our second pick, though. I tend to like to go a little bit lower, and I just can't wait to see what they're going to do with it here on Sleeper. I have said, my last video I mentioned it, I really want Ladd McConkey. I think he's going to be a guy that surprises a lot of people. Can I get him in the third round? I mean, look at this. It's right on the border. Right on the border. Man, are we going to take a chance? No, this is going to be a spot where I say I'll reach to get my guy, because I think by the time it rolls around, the consensus is going to start to agree with me. Ladd McConkey in the second round. I think he's just a guy that he might not be a superstar, but I think he's going to be really effective, and I think he's going to be good for fantasy too. I'm excited to see where he goes, the Georgia wideout, who's just a really fundamentally sound player and has some meat to him, some strength to him, some grit to him. I really like Ladd McConkey. Jalen Polk is a guy that I think the last time I did this draft, I took him in the second round and then got McConkey in the third from a little bit later on in the process, which is a little bit interesting because I still have Polk as an option here. He's a playmaker out of Washington. I think he'd be really interesting, and I tend to like to stock my drafts with wide receivers where I can. I'm going to have to make a decision on Xavier Legette at some point in time out of South Carolina. Had some injuries, was banged up at times during the season to where maybe he didn't maximize his game necessarily during the season compared to what he could be at the next level. I still kind of go back to the measurements, though, where a lot of people thought he was going to be listed at a larger number in terms of his weight and height, and wasn't necessarily so. I kind of like Bucky Irving, though. He's the one running back that I feel like I would get a look at in this stage of the draft. You can see me scrolling down here. Ray Davis, a little bit interesting, too. It's all going to depend on draft capital for a lot of these guys. But as we see with like the Kansas City Chiefs now, Isaiah Pacheco was a seventh-round pick, landed in a good spot. So I think there are going to be some running backs that are worthwhile from this class. But beyond Bucky Irving, I just don't know that there is a lot of answers on the board that I'm going to be picking up. And the reason I say on the board, I'm going to search for this again. My guy Cody Schrader is still not listed on Sleeper. Every video that I do, I'm going to mention Cody Schrader until Sleeper puts him on there, because he's a guy out of Missouri he's going to surprise some people if I had to guess. Xavier Legette, if I'm getting him in the fourth round, I think that's fine. I don't know if Ricky Pearsall was the other guy that I was looking at here. I think Roman Wilson's interesting. I like Brendan Rice. I think I took Brendan Rice the last time I did one of these videos. But Xavier Legette in the fourth round, again, if he ends up being like a sixth-round NFL pick, then he's probably not going to be fantasy relevant. But if he gets a team to reach on the potential and he's a top four rounder in the NFL draft, I think Legette out of South Carolina could end up being interesting. But this time I decided to diversify a little bit, get Bucky Irving as a running back. Again, you can draft for the talent right now, but it's kind of like playing the lottery if you're doing these drafts before the NFL draft, because so much is going to change. Sometimes the right talent doesn't get put in the right situation, right? You can think last year Zach Charbonnet was drafted by a team that had a rock-solid RB1, and he did get opportunity with Seattle, but could it have been more profitable for his fantasy fortunes if he had been drafted somewhere else? Yeah, maybe so in year one. Long-term, though, maybe new head coach in Seattle and things change. Perhaps he gets the vote of confidence and ends up being really relevant. But it's just going to be really difficult to hash these things out. So for right now, what we can do is focus on talent, focus on the guys that we're intrigued by, and I don't mind this at all. Jayden Daniels is obviously the name that we're excited to get from this draft, from this mock. If you're at the 1.4, is he going to be there in your real leagues? Let me know where you're targeting Jayden Daniels, if at all. For me, it's just the simple factor of his rushing upside is something Drake May doesn't really have in the same way. And that can just be a gold mine for fantasy. So that's where I'm at right now. I like getting Jayden Daniels at number 4. Typically, you might think Drake May goes number 3. Jayden Daniels slides to 4, and you feel pretty good about that. But I think the NFL, too, not just fantasy players, but the NFL. I mean, Jayden Daniels is going to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. I don't know who he's going to go to, but he's going to be a top 5 pick if I had to guess, unless there are just teams that get so into some of those other top prospects. But with what quarterback can mean in the NFL and having a difference maker at the position, I have a hard time believing that Jayden Daniels is going to fall very far. He won the darn Heisman for a reason. So to think that it's just the trendy thing and you're going to avoid the obvious because other people say you should pick Drake May first, I think that kind of narrative and that mindset and thought process is going to evaporate the closer we get to this thing being real. So let me know in the comments what you think. Who's a name of these 48 picks that you think they could be a good value with where they're going right now in these mock drafts? And who's somebody that you think off board should be on the radar but isn't yet? Just things like that as we continue to kind of take an early look at these Dynasty rookie mock drafts and try and get familiarized with the board. Appreciate you guys for listening, as always, for watching, of course. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for more fantasy content to come right here on the Brenden Schaeffer Fantasy Football channel. Thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you next time. Peace.